Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Secretary, for sharing your time here today. And I've not been around here as long as Mr. Neal has, but I do want to bring in a bit of a historical perspective that I think is relevant. Looking back, we can argue about CBO and JCT, and it's an imperfect system. And I think that's manifested itself in various hits and misses on projections, whether it goes all the way back to the original parts of the cost of Medicare that was way underestimated, or whether it was the structure of a more market-based approach with Medicare Modernization Act that precedes my time here, but actually cost a lot less than was projected. You go to the receipts, post-2017 tax action, the receipts exceeded what was projected. So we have an imperfect system, but it's what we have. And I think we need to go on that. Now, you take things a step further, and I remember the President's economic advisor, Mr. Hassett, pointing out that with COVID, yes, there was bipartisan action. I'll say that a few of those components still give me heartburn, as much as an emergency that we found ourselves in. But when, at the beginning of COVID, when unemployment spiked and the GDP dipped, Congress acted. By the end of 2020, GDP was back to about even. New President Biden was advised not to spend what he insisted on spending. I would suggest they're probably grappling with going back to the Obama stimulus, and they think that the only mistake of the Obama stimulus, so-called, was it didn't spend enough money, rather than address the bureaucratic approach that, the joke was shovel-ready, maybe wasn't what it was described to be. But we have these imperfect projection systems, and yet we've got the reality of experience. And I think this is important to note, and especially on the IRS structure and the desire to spend money on more people at the IRS, because that could generate more audits and that would generate more revenue, and then we can spend that revenue that, good grief, still wasn't enough to cover what the actual IRA costs came in and came to be. So we have to deal with these realities, and it's because they're imperfect systems that we just have to acknowledge. And that's why, Mr. Secretary, I had not heard the numbers on the IRS, and especially in these efforts most recently, that we were told that if we pushed back on the number of new IRS agents and auditors, we were going to undermine the revenues, and yet a different approach that focused more on technology, because there was a willingness to focus more on technology here on this side of the dais than there was with just hiring more people that actually, even in the best of scenarios, did not come to be. Thank goodness, I might add. But we are in a situation now where in 2017, we did what was right, and I'm glad that there was bipartisan support to extend a lot of what we did in 2017 that did not have bipartisan support then. Now, that didn't pass the Senate. We are where we are, and now heading into a situation where what we have at hand with this reconciliation bill is good for workers. It's good for workers, it's good for economic expansion and encouraging investment and increasing productivity so that we can grow the economy without triggering inflation. President Biden was warned not to push more spending by Democrats, I might add. I think of Mr. Summers primarily, advising against that. Did it anyway. We are still paying the price. We're trying to dig out from a lot of that, and that's why we're doing the bill that we are, gosh, I have other things that I'd love to ask questions on, but I think it's important to realize that we need to deal with reality here. That's what we are doing, and Mr. Secretary, thank you. I look forward to further conversations, whether it's trade, whether it's IRS, whether it's various things that we need to do to get our country to a better place, realizing that the solutions are really in the private sector and triggering everything we can on our side to to encourage the private sector to provide more opportunity. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, thank you.